When God truly puts his hand on your life, everything changes. Not just some things, not just the convenient things, everything. His anointing is not a soft pat on the back. It is a divine shakeup that can flip your world upside down. It will disturb the ordinary, disrupt your comfort zones, and dismantle the false security you've built for yourself. You cannot encounter the living God and remain the same. His presence will rearrange your priorities, shift your focus, and call you to places you never imagined stepping into. The moment God sets you apart, you step into a realm where the natural collides with the supernatural. People may not understand you anymore. Friends may distance themselves. Family might question your choices. But that's because his anointing is dangerous, not in the sense of harm, but in the sense of holy disruption. It will threaten the enemy's agenda. It will shake the powers of darkness, and it will even challenge the parts of you that resist growth. When God's anointing comes upon your life, the first thing it does is disrupt the ordinary. Because the anointing was never meant to make you comfortable, it was meant to make you powerful. The anointing is heaven's divine appointment over your life. And when heaven appoints you, it will not allow you to stay in the small, limited version of yourself that you have been used to. Everything ordinary begins to shake because God has no interest in leaving you where you are. He begins to strip away the things you once depended on, the routines you thought you needed, and the patterns you thought were normal. This is why when people encounter the anointing, they often feel like their life has been turned upside down. Suddenly, the old habits don't satisfy, the old relationships don't fit, the old plans don't excite you anymore. You begin to sense that there is something more, something bigger that you were made for. And even though it's uncomfortable, it is also undeniable. God disrupts the ordinary because ordinary cannot carry the extraordinary weight of the calling he has placed on your life. You are not made to live a life of mediocrity. You are not created just to survive day to day, running in circles and staying in the same place year after year. His anointing pulls you out of the cycle of the mundane and sets you on a path where you begin to see things differently. You begin to hunger for deeper things, for a higher purpose, for a life that actually matters in eternity. This hunger is not random. It is heaven's way of telling you that you have outgrown where you are. The anointing is like spiritual fire. It burns away the unnecessary and refines you into someone who can handle divine assignment. When the anointing disrupts the ordinary, it often feels uncomfortable because it calls you to do what doesn't make sense to the natural mind. You may feel God asking you to step out of a job that feels secure, but is holding you back. You may feel him asking you to walk away from relationships that are no longer aligned with where he is taking you. You may feel him pushing you to step into new territory, take new risks, or attempt something you feel completely unqualified to do. This disruption is not punishment, it is preparation. It is God saying, I refuse to let you settle for less than what I put you on this earth to accomplish. The anointing disrupts the ordinary so that you cannot rely on human strength or familiar system. You are forced to rely on God. The reason many people miss the power of God in their lives is that they keep clinging to what is comfortable, to what feels predictable, to what they can control. But the anointing thrives in the unpredictable, in the unknown, in the impossible. When you let go of the ordinary, you open the door for the supernatural to flow. This disruption will also shift how people view you. Some will be inspired by your courage, while others will be confused or even critical. That is because the anointing puts a mark on you. You no longer fit in the boxes you used to fit in. You may find yourself losing friends, losing opportunities, or losing status. But what you gain in exchange is so much greater: clarity of purpose, divine direction, and the power to walk in alignment with heaven's will. The ordinary will no longer satisfy you because the extraordinary has been awakened within you. The crushing produces the oil, and this is one of the most powerful truths you will ever embrace if you want to walk in the fullness of what God has for you. The anointing is costly. It is not cheap. It is not casual. It does not come just because you want it. It comes because you are willing to endure the process that releases it. Oil is produced when the olive is crushed, and in the same way, spiritual oil is released in your life when you are willing to go through seasons of pressure, breaking, and surrender. The crushing season feels painful. It feels heavy. It feels unfair at times, but it is where God extracts the purity, the strength, and the power that was always inside of you. The crushing season is where your faith is tested, where your character is refined, and where your motives are purified. It is in the crushing that you learn that your strength is not enough. Your wisdom is not enough. Your plans are not enough. You are pressed on every side until you discover that there's something within you that is greater than you. That something is the Spirit of God empowering you, teaching you to stop depending on your own ability and start depending fully on His grace. When you are being crushed, you often feel like you are losing everything. But what is really happening is that everything that doesn't belong is being removed. Pride is being crushed. Fear is being crushed. Ego is being crushed. Self-reliance is being crushed. You are being emptied of yourself so that you can be filled with the power that will actually make a difference. This is why those who carry great anointing have often gone through great pain. Their oil was expensive because it was birthed in the secret place of tears, prayers, and perseverance. The crushing also deepens your compassion. When you have been broken, you gain a heart for the broken. When you have been pressed, you begin to understand the pain of others. When you have walked through fire, you carry an authority that comforts those still in the flames. The crushing season is where empathy is born, where your heart is softened, where your words carry weight because they are no longer just theory, they are testimony. People can argue with your opinion, but they cannot argue with your story, and the crushing gives you a story that carries power. In the crushing season, God is not just preparing you for public victory, He is preparing you for private integrity. He is making sure that when you step into influence, you will not crumble under the weight of it. He is making sure that when you are given a platform, your character will sustain you. Many want the spotlight without the crushing, but the spotlight without preparation destroys. The crushing is protection as much as it is preparation. Even though the crushing hurts, it is also where intimacy with God becomes the deepest. In those moments when no one understands you, when no one is there to hold you up, when you have nothing left to lean on, you find yourself leaning on Him like never before. You discover that He is enough. You discover that His presence is your sustaining power. You discover that in the pressing, there is also producing a strength you didn't know you had, producing a perseverance that refuses to quit, producing a faith that cannot be shaken. Separation before elevation is one of the most misunderstood parts of the journey, yet it is one of the most necessary. Before God can raise you, He must remove you from the things that will hold you back from where He has taken you. Separation can feel lonely, it can feel like rejection, and it can feel like everything you thought you needed is slipping away, but it is actually an act of divine love. God is not trying to hurt you, He is protecting the future He has for you. He knows what voices cannot go with you into the next season, what environments will poison your purpose, and what relationships will drain you of the strength you need to finish your assignment. That is why He will separate you, not to isolate you permanently, but to consecrate you for the next level. This season of separation often begins with a deep stirring in your spirit. What once satisfied you no longer does. The crowd you once ran with begins to feel out of place. The conversations you once enjoyed now feel empty. This is not arrogance or pride, it is spiritual growth. You are outgrowing the old because you are being prepared for the new. Sometimes God will even allow rejection to do the work of separation for you. People will misunderstand you. Doors will close. Opportunities you thought were perfect will suddenly vanish, and you are left wondering what went wrong. But what went wrong in your eyes often went right in God's eyes, because he is closing off what could destroy you later. Separation also means letting go of habits, mindsets, and distractions that no longer serve the person you are becoming. Elevation requires focus, and focus requires pruning. You cannot carry the same baggage into a higher altitude because it will weigh you down. When God calls you higher, he lightens your load. He removes the things that will compete with your devotion, the things that will tempt you to compromise, the things that will keep you tied to a level you were never meant to stay on. This is why separation feels painful, because we often cling to what is familiar even if it is limiting us. But the higher God calls you, the more ruthless you must be about what you allow to stay in your life. In the separation season, you learn to be content with being hidden. This is where God develops your character in private, so that when the elevation comes, you are ready for the weight of visibility. Many want to be seen before they have been shaped, but visibility without maturity is dangerous. The separation season humbles you, purifies your motives, and teaches you to rely on God's timing rather than your own ambition. It is where you learn that approval from heaven matters more than applause from people. It is also in this time that God strengthens your discernment. You begin to see clearly who is for you and who is against you. You begin to recognize the difference between good opportunities and God opportunities. You learn to say no to things that may look appealing but would derail your purpose. This kind of clarity only comes when you are willing to step away from the noise and spend time in the presence of God, allowing him to recalibrate your heart. Separation is not punishment, it is positioning. You are being positioned for something greater than what you are leaving behind. The pruning is making room for new growth, the silence is making room for a new sound, and the waiting is making room for new strength. This is why some of the greatest breakthroughs come after a season of isolation. It is the cocoon stage before the butterfly emerges, the wilderness before the promised land, the midnight before the sunrise. You are being hidden not because you are forgotten, but because you are being prepared for a reveal that will glorify God in a way that staying where you were never could. The attacks are confirmation, not defeat. And when you begin to truly understand this, it will change the way you view every battle in your life. Most people think that when opposition shows up, it must mean they are doing something wrong, that God has abandoned them or that they have stepped outside his will. But in reality, attacks are often the clearest sign that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. The enemy does not waste his time on those who pose no threat to his kingdom. The fact that you are facing resistance is evidence that there is something powerful on your life, something dangerous to the kingdom of darkness, something that hell is afraid of. You do not get attacked for being empty. You get attacked because you are carrying something valuable. When attacks come, they come to distract you, to drain you, and to make you doubt your assignment. This is why the moment you step into a new level, you often experience sudden warfare. Right after a breakthrough, here comes the opposition. Right after you say yes to God, here comes the doubt, the criticism, the unexpected problem. But what if those attacks are not there to stop you, but to sharpen you? What if they are heaven's way of building your spiritual muscles so you can handle the next level of glory? Every time you face a battle, you are given an opportunity to grow stronger, to deepen your faith, to stand firmer. The attacks may come in many forms. Sometimes they come through people. Misunderstandings, betrayal, rejection. Sometimes they come through circumstances, financial struggles, sudden losses, sickness. Sometimes they come through your own mind, fear, anxiety, discouragement. But no matter what form they take, they all carry the same goal: to get you to quit, to get you to shrink back, to get you to silence your voice. That is why you must learn to see the attack as a signal that you are close to something significant. The enemy would not fight you this hard if there was not something on the other side worth fighting for. When you shift your mindset, you begin to face attacks with a different spirit. You stop panicking and start praising. You stop running away and start standing firm. You start seeing the opposition as an announcement that God is about to move in your life, an announcement that something new is being birthed, an announcement that you are stepping into a level that demands new power. Pressure is a sign of promotion. The greater the attack, the greater the assignment. It is in these moments of attack that your authority is activated. You learn to use your voice to speak life over dead situations, to declare truth over lies, to stand on promises even when everything around you looks opposite. The attack becomes the place where you learn how to fight strategically, not just emotionally. You stop wasting your energy on people and start addressing the real enemy behind the scenes. You stop trying to fix everything in your own strength and start leaning into prayer, worship, and the Word. These seasons of attack also reveal who is really with you. They expose the people who are only there for the good times and the ones who will stand with you in the storm. They teach you to rely less on human approval and more on divine strength. They force you to grow thicker skin without hardening your heart, to develop resilience without losing compassion. And as strange as it may sound, you will one day thank God for the attacks, because they forged you. They taught you how to fight. They made you unshakable. They pushed you closer to Him. They purified your motives. They stripped away what you didn't need. And they left you with a faith that cannot be intimidated. The attacks prove that what you carry is real, that your calling is not imaginary, and that your life is marked for impact. When God flips your world upside down, your feelings will try to take the lead. Fear will rise, doubt will scream, confusion will swirl in your mind, and everything inside you will want to pull back to what feels safe. But this is where faith must become louder than feeling. Faith is not a passive belief. It is an active decision to trust what God has said, even when everything you see tells you otherwise. Faith is stepping into a storm and believing you will not drown. Faith is walking in the dark, trusting that every step is leading you closer to your purpose. Faith is choosing to obey God even when you don't understand the why. Feelings are real, but they are not reliable guides. Feelings change based on the weather, based on what people say, based on what kind of day you are having. But faith stays anchored in what does not change: the character of God and the promises of His Word. When your emotions tell you to quit, faith tells you to keep going. When your heart feels heavy and broken, faith whispers that there is still hope. When everything seems out of control, faith reminds you that nothing is out of God's control. Living by faith means refusing to let fear dictate your decisions. Fear will tell you that you are not qualified, not ready, not enough. Fear will keep you stuck where you are, building excuses instead of building courage. But faith silences fear by focusing on the one who called you, not the obstacles in front of you. Faith reminds you that you are not walking alone, that every step you take is backed by heaven's power, and that if God led you into this place, He already prepared the way through. Faith over feelings means you no longer wait until you feel brave to act brave. You no longer wait until you feel strong to move forward. You no longer wait until you feel ready to say yes. Faith moves even when your knees are shaking. Faith obeys even when it costs you something. Faith builds when everything around you is falling apart. The people who change the world are not the ones who never feel afraid. They are the ones who refuse to let fear stop them. Choosing faith over feelings also means staying steady when God is silent. There will be seasons where you pray and hear nothing, where you ask for clarity, but receive none, where the waiting seems endless. Feelings will tell you that silence means abandonment, but faith knows that silence often means preparation. Faith holds on even when there is no sign, no proof, no evidence that anything is working. Faith believes that God is moving even behind the scenes. When you put faith above feelings, you start to live from a different place. You are no longer controlled by circumstances. You are no longer at the mercy of your emotions. You develop a strength that cannot be easily shaken. Your faith becomes like a compass that keeps you moving in the right direction even when the storm clouds block your view. This is why some people will look at you and wonder how you are still standing, how you are still smiling, how you are still pushing forward despite everything you've been through. It is because faith is carrying you when feelings would have failed you. Faith over feelings is a daily choice. It is choosing to speak what God says even when it contradicts what you see. It is waking up and deciding to walk in hope instead of despair, to walk in courage instead of fear, to walk in obedience instead of hesitation. It is living by conviction instead of convenience, trusting that every act of faith is moving you closer to the destiny God designed for you before the foundation of the world. Your next breakthrough is on the other side of your yes. And bold obedience is what unlocks the destiny that has been waiting for you. Obedience is not passive. It is the active choice to align your life with God's instruction, even when it costs you, even when it challenges you, even when it disrupts everything you thought you wanted. Bold obedience is not just about following easy instructions. It is about saying yes to the hard assignments, the uncomfortable steps, the risky moves that require you to trust completely. It is about stepping out of the boat and onto the water, not because it feels safe, but because He told you to come. Bold obedience is what separates those who talk about faith from those who walk by faith. Many people want to see miracles. They want to live with purpose. They want to fulfill their calling, but they hesitate at the moment when God asks them to act. They wait for a perfect time, a perfect sign, a perfect feeling. But destiny is not unlocked by waiting for perfect conditions. It is unlocked by obedience in imperfect conditions. The moment you move, the moment you take the step you have been afraid to take, heaven begins to shift things in your favor. Provision begins to flow where there was lack. Strength begins to rise where there was weakness. Doors begin to open that had been shut for years. Bold obedience is often costly because it demands surrender. It may require you to walk away from something good to receive something greater. It may require you to let go of control and trust that what He has prepared is better than what you are leaving behind. It may even require you to face ridicule, misunderstanding, or criticism from those who do not understand why you are making such a radical move. But obedience is worth it, because obedience carries favor. There is a supernatural backing that follows a person who is walking in step with what God told them to do. When you choose bold obedience, you also choose courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite fear. There will be times when obedience feels terrifying because it leads you into unknown territory. You might not have all the answers. You might not know how things will work out. You might not even see the full picture of what you are stepping into. But courage rises when you remember who gave you the instruction. If He called you, He will sustain you. If He sent you, He will equip you. If He opened the door, He will keep you as you walk through it. Bold obedience also positions you for acceleration. There are breakthroughs and blessings that are time sensitive, and delayed obedience can mean delayed destiny. Every time you hesitate, you prolong the process. But every time you act quickly on what you know you are supposed to do, you position yourself for rapid growth. Some of the greatest promotions come after simple acts of obedience, forgiving someone who hurt you, giving when it doesn't make sense, speaking when you'd rather stay silent, stepping up when no one else will. When you live a life of obedience, you become a vessel that heaven can trust. You become someone who is available for divine assignment.